What's up everybody, it is I, Hero Vange, and welcome to my Sinister Cup Meta Simplified Guide. Today we're gonna talk about my updated recommendations for the Sinister Cup. So here's what happened, right? A couple of days ago, over the weekend, Niantic decided to put out an update, right? And it was about movesets mostly, right? PvP related stuff, mostly. They gave some Pokemon some charge moves, they rebalanced some stats on some charge attacks, some fast attacks, and the change was significant enough that the PvP community got confused. So I got multiple messages asking me how I feel about the changes, if I'm going to cover it in a video, and also how this affects the Sinister Cup meta. You know what? Let me just do the research. Let me just make a video about how this affects the Sinister Cup, because it's probably not that big, right? Not that extensive, right? It's extensive. So extensive that my old Meta Simplified guide is now irrelevant. It's outdated. So I am going to give you some updated recommendations. I'm going to teach you how the cup plays, and also you're going to learn a lot from this. Now, let's talk about the first group, which is this group right here. It is the ghost types. Now, the ghost types, they beat the psychic types and the fighters, all right? Allegedly, they should be able to beat, all right? But there's a lot of exceptions. They lose to the steel types. But again, there's a lot of exceptions. Just know that their coverage is nice because they cover two groups, right? A Lowland Marowak is one of the Pokemon that got a buff after the update, right? Because it now has Fire Spin. Forget about Flame Wheel, right? But Fire Spin, the fast attack, it can now beat some of the steel types, right? As you can see here, this is an exception to the rule, right? The steel types beat the ghost types, except a Lowland Marowak can beat Steelix and also completely beats Probopass and Mawile, right? So Probopass, Mawile, you can just go straight Bone Club, right? With Steelix, you kind of have to, you can't double ball, right? You can't go double Shadow Ball, you have to kind of bait, all right? And the thing is, there's a lot of ways to play it, but we're not gonna focus on the finer details in this video. This is like more of a general thing, but you can beat Steelix. But what about Hexa Lowland Marowak? Is it still like an advantage, disadvantage type of thing? Actually, I would say that since Fire Spin Lowland Marowak has this massive advantage over Hex, Fire Spin's the way to go, 100%, right? Because Hex versus Fire Spin with the other matchups, it's not that big of a, there's not a lot of difference, honestly. Not that significant, not as significant as this right here, okay? This is a massive improvement, all right? So let's run through the psychic matchups really fast because I don't want this to be like an hour-long video, okay? So yeah, with Fire Spin Lowland Marowak, you can double Bone Club Bronzong, double Shadow Ball Cresselia, double Shadow Ball Charm Gardevoir, double Shadow Ball Lugia, double Bone Club Lowland Raichu. With Claydol, you have to bait. You kind of have to bait. It's a little bit iffy if you go double Shadow Ball, but you know, it's mostly the same. Now against the fighters, Hex has more of an energy farming potential against Medicham, but that's it. That's it. I mean, Fire Spin can still handle Medicham just fine. Can actually still get some extra energy, not as much as Hex, of course, but yeah, it's basically the same, almost, just a little bit of energy difference. Now you would think that a fire fast attack would do significantly less damage to Poliwrath compared to something neutral like Hex, right? It's actually almost exactly the same. In fact, it might be exactly the same because in the simulations, they come out with the same HP, right? Now, Poliwrath is an exception, right? But we'll talk about it later in more detail because it's iffy. What about the ghost matchups? What about inside the group? Okay, let's start off with Hex versus Fire Spin Lowland Marowak. Okay, who wins? It's a tie. It is a tie. You have to bait the Bone Club. You have to throw and land the Shadow Ball. So it's a tie. Okay, so whoever can bait gets the win. All right. Now with Drifblim, it's a tie as well. All right. So you have to bait the Bone Club. You have to land the Shadow Ball. Now with Dusclops, this is where Hex has a clear advantage. Okay, it's just one matchup that might not even be a problem, because the thing is, with Fire Spin, you have to bait, alright? But with Hex, you can double ball. Okay, so that's definitely an advantage, okay? That is a sure win against Dusclops. But just a little bit of an advantage compared to this, I would say. Now we're moving on to the next ghost, Drifblim. And I forgot to mention this earlier with Lowland Marowak. There's you see that equal sign right there, right? Right underneath their feet / tentacles. Yeah, that means that Lowland Marowak and Drifblim are, it's a tie. Okay, so whoever can land the Shadow Ball wins. All right. So Drifblim is interesting because of a certain issue. Okay, so the thing is, he can handle the psychic types except for one, right? Gardevoir. Now, I'm going to take you to The Sims because this is pretty important. Now, let's talk about this issue, right? And it's not specific to Drifblim, but they recently changed the way that energy registers in Pokemon Go, right? Along with the update. And the thing is, for specific matchups in the simulations, right? And this is specifically for like these matchups where there is a charge attack charged up, like before you die. You can actually lose these, okay? Because I played this matchup after the update, and I had my Charm Gardevoir, and I lost because he was able to throw this second Ominous Wind, right? Because now the energy is like, I think it's instantaneous, right? I don't know how it works really, honestly, but yes. But the Sims might need some fine-tuning, right? Because this matchup, I am quite sure Drifblim wins this because, yeah, Ominous Wind, you get there. You're left with like a tiny bit of HP, but yeah, you can get there. But Vange, it's because you have Shadow Ball here. That's why it's charging up to the Shadow Ball and then throwing the Ominous Wind. So that's why. No, it's not. It's not. It's really not. Is it IVs? Maybe, but the thing is, I've been playing around with this, right? This right here, right? The stats, attack weighted, defense weighted, all the weighted. All right, none of them beat Gardevoir. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really honestly not sure, but I think that it's the energy generation registration thing. Obviously, I know, I know everything about Pokemon Go PvP, but I think that the Sims might need to fine-tune this, kind of like figure this out. But yeah, like update us on that, okay? Now, I don't know the people who work on PvPoke, but as you can see, since that website is so fantastic, majestic, amazing, right? They're probably working on it, or maybe they've already figured it out and they're like trying to apply it to the website by, I don't know, honestly, maybe by the time that this video comes out, it's already fixed, but it's just something that I noticed, so I thought that I'd call it out, alright? So, Drifblim is a solid ghost, right? And since it has Ominous Wind, if you can get that boost, okay, it becomes a monster. This thing slaps. It sweeps teams, guys. Okay, so yeah, nice thing about it is it has some extra coverage in the steel types. Okay, so right here, as you can see, it can beat Empoleon. Okay, and this is a solid win. You don't have to bait. You can just go straight Shadow Ball. You win. For the general coverage, it's got the psychic types. Except for Gardevoir, but again, I'm not sure about that. Okay, for the fighters, it's got Medicham. Poliwrath can win, but again, it's iffy. We'll talk about it later, alright? For the ghost types, Dusclops, it can beat, it ties with Marowak. Now, for the steel types, no, it loses to the steel types except for Empoleon. Now, we're moving on to Dusclops, and with Dusclops, my recommendation is you go Feint Attack, because Feint Attack lets you get this exception right here, right? And this is a really solid exception, okay? It beats Empoleon, straight Shadow Punch, okay? It beats Steelix, straight Fire Punch. Hex makes it a little bit better versus the fighters, but the thing is, it's not by a lot, right? Not by a lot. The thing is, Feint Attack can lose to Medicham because it gets to a Psychic, but the thing is, it's so iffy. If you look at the Sims, it's like Power Up Punch that you block, and then Psychic. So what's up with that, right? So iffy, right? And also Hex can beat Poliwrath, but it's also iffy. We'll talk about it later, alright? But yes, just know that I think you should go Feint Attack for the steel types. General coverage, alright? I don't know why I keep doing this magical wave thing, but yes, the psychic types, it's not a problem, right? No exceptions. Fighters, again, it's iffy, but it doesn't feel right to say that because power up punch that you block, and then psychic is just way too specific, right? Is that actually gonna happen? It's gonna be epic if you do that with your Medicham, but it's too specific. Poliwrath, iffy. We'll talk about it, alright? The steel types, again, it's got these two exceptions. If you have Faint Attack. Now, within the group, it loses to both Lowland Marowak and Drifblim. Now, let's talk about some alternatives because these Pokemon in the graphic are not the only Pokemon that you can use in the cup, right? You can definitely find some side grades that might fit your team much better, right? So yeah, Haunter is a ghost slaying ghost. Haunter can beat the other ghost, no problem, right? It is the alpha ghost. But the thing is, the psychic types are a problem for Haunter because Haunter is really squishy and it's part poison. Having that part poison makes it weak to psychic, right? So confusion users are going to tear through Haunter, but you know, you can kind of use it if you have a lot of psychic coverage on your team. Think about it. Now we're moving on to the steel types, and with the steel types, the relationship between the steel and the ghost and the steel and the psychic types are really back and forth now because since Lowland Marowak got buffed, there's just so many exceptions, right? As you can see, like with the ghost, right? There's just so many things that are happening, right? But yeah, we're gonna cover it. Now, the thing is, there's a lot more happening here now compared to my first Meta Simplified guide because the steel types actually got a buff, right? A buff, and it's in the form of the fighters getting weaker. Now, to help you understand this much better, first focus on this triangle here, okay? This RPS triangle. Empoleon beats Steelix, Steelix beats Probopass, and Probopass beats Empoleon, okay? So, yes, that makes sense, yes. Now, to the right, there's an arrow pointing towards Bastiodon, okay? So, all three of these Pokemon can beat Bastiodon, alright? And then Mawile over there is the least dominant, alright? So, yeah. Now, before we proceed, I want you to know that Mawile over there can beat the triangle of RPS steals, right? So it can beat Empoleon, it can beat Steelix, it can beat Probopass, right? But this is if they have bad IVs, alright? So bad PvP IVs. This is very important. So make sure that if you're gonna use these Pokemon, that you have good PvP IVs, not just for this matchup, because a lot of other matchups, especially Steelix, alright? We'll talk about it. Empoleon is a weird steel type, okay? It's a weird steel type because the matchups that it wins are scattered all over the place, alright? We'll talk about it. Now, I don't want you to focus on the steel versus psychic types for now, okay? We'll talk about it because that is the most complicated situation happening in this graphic, okay? That's why there's like a double-sided arrow, okay? But Lowland Marowak is a massive threat, right? If you haven't noticed, it's got the psychic, it's got the fighters, you know, except for Poliwrath. It's got a lot of the steel types, okay? Because some of the ghost types as well. It ties with Drifblim, and you know, we already talked about that. And that's why Empoleon is starting to become much more important because it's one of the steel types that can actually beat Marowak. Empoleon is also the only steel type in this graphic. Yes, Lucario can beat Steelix as well, but yes, in this graphic, that can beat Steelix. Okay, so it is stopping Steelix from becoming the dominant steel type because it can beat it. It can also beat Bastiodon, but that's not that special anymore because the three of those Pokemon, the RPS, right, they can beat Bastiodon. It can also beat Mawile, but again, it is IV dependent. Get yourself a good IV Empoleon. Very close, like single digit, like less than 5 HP. Okay, so yes, against the fighters, it loses. Against the psychics, we'll talk about it later. It's complex. Now, this Pokemon, Probopass, right? He is the Pokemon that I said was a mini Bastiodon, you know, like not as good as Bastiodon, but I am here to tell you that since Power Up Punch got nerfed, Probopass is probably going to increase in usage in the meta more than Bastiodon because Probopass, ladies and gentlemen, I can speak English. I blew it. Can beat Poliwrath. Can beat Poliwrath. Okay, Spark, Thunderbolt, Rock Slide. You don't have to bait. Go straight. Thunderbolt. It can beat Poliwrath. Now against the ghost types, it is a mini Bastiodon. Oh my god, I just hyped it up and I was like, alright. But the thing is, it's Marowak. The problem is Marowak. Marowak just got buffed, right? That Fire Spin, Bone Club. Just straight Bone Club, it can handle Probopass. So yeah, but the thing is, not a lot of steel types can handle Marowak, and that's why Bastiodon is still important. Okay, so yes. Now against the steels, Probopass can handle Empoleon, can handle Bastiodon, straight Thunderbolt, no need to bait, right? With Mawile though, now this is difficult, alright? With Mawile, not only is it IV dependent, it's also dependent on if you can land a Thunderbolt and a Rock Slide, alright? So you need to bait with a Rock Slide, right? And then land Thunderbolt and a Rock Slide, okay? So that's iffy and also IV dependent, but it can happen. I can see it happening because, I mean, you have two chances, right? Two Rock Slides to try to get that bait, okay? And then land the Thunderbolt. I don't know. It's possible. Probopass versus the fighters. Medicham still destroys you completely, right? But Poliwrath, that's where the money is, guys. That's where the gold is. That's why this guy is on the graphic now, right? He can beat Poliwrath. Oh my god, I am so hyped to build this thing up. Now let's talk about Steelix. And with Steelix, you definitely want top-notch IVs, alright? PvP IVs, okay? So you definitely want a good Steelix. Do not run a poopy Steelix, because if you're running a poopy Steelix, it's not gonna be as good as Probopass. Trust me. Is it because of the Thunderfang? Can Thunderfang Steelix kill Poliwrath? Is that why you're asking us to get IVs? No, it's not, alright? The thing is, Thunderfang is not good for this cup, right? But I can see some potential in it for future cups, but not for this cup, okay? Dragon Tail is still the way to go. Thunderfang can get Poliwrath pretty low, but it's not gonna kill it, even with IVs, okay? So yeah. But the thing is, if your Steelix has really good IVs and their Poliwrath does not have good IVs, let's say, right? And you have CMP, so this is really iffy. This is super iffy, right? If you land a Crunch Shield Bait and then land an Earthquake, you can kill them. Okay, so that's a possibility, but it is so iffy. We're not gonna put it here. We're not even gonna put it here. It's so iffy, guys. Now, if we talk about the matchups, you're gonna realize that Steelix is gonna look like a poopier Nosepass, but don't put that in your notes, alright? I know you're taking notes. I see you there, alright? Yeah, with a pencil. What? Get a ball pen. Now, against a Lowland Marowak, the thing is, you have to land the Earthquake, okay? If you don't land the Earthquake, Marowak can kill you with straight Bone Club. Okay, straight Bone Club, guys. If he lands the Shadow Ball on you, that's a GG. That is a GG. So I think that this exception is more towards a Lowland Marowak, right? So landing the Earthquake, quite difficult. If it lands the Shadow Ball, that's bad. If it goes straight Bone Club and you don't go for the Earthquake, or if it blocks the Earthquake, you lose. So yeah, difficult. Now for the Steel type matchups, you've got Probopass, which is nice, right? Because I feel like Probopass is gonna go up in use because it can beat Poliwrath. Again, I cannot get over it. It can beat Bastiodon, which is nice. I think Bastiodon is gonna go up in use as well because it can beat Marowak. It can beat Mawile, but it's very IV dependent. Again, alright? You need to hit the Earthquake, and if you want to make it sure, Earthquake, right? Have good IVs, because if you don't, you die. Versus the fighters, Medicham, you lose. With Poliwrath, it gets complicated, but again, let's go through it again, right? If you have good stats, if they have bad stats, alright? If you have CMP, because it's gonna be a CMP tie. So iffy. If you're able to bait the Crunch land the Earthquake, you can beat Poliwrath. Now the thing is, Steelix is looking like a poopier Probopass, but again, not just yet, alright? Not until we get to the Psychic types, alright? Bastiodon. Now, I know you know what's up already. It can beat Marowak. That's the big thing, right? That's the big thing. It's one of the two Steel types that can beat Marowak. Not a lot of things can beat Marowak, honestly, right? So that's special, right? So yes, Empoleon and Bastiodon has that, alright? It can also beat all the other ghosts versus the Steels. It can beat Mawile. Fighters, it loses. Finally, we're at Mawile. And Mawile is very, very special, alright? I actually prepared something for Mawile, okay? Over here. This is the Steel versus Psychic. Wait, let me align it properly. Alright, there we go. Nice, looking good. Nice. Steel versus Psychic chart. You can take a picture of this right now. Got it? So yes, this is the reason why I didn't want to talk about Steel versus Psychic, because I had this chart to make it super easy for you guys and for me, because I get confused too. So the thing is, Mawile is the queen of killing all the Psychics, alright, as a Steel type, alright? Yes, it's almost like a Ghost type. It's actually better than Drifblim as a Ghost type because it can beat Gardevoir, and Drifblim can't beat Gardevoir. So yes, very, very good Pokemon. And now that it has Power Up Punch, right, and it already had Play Rough, right, after you chew through these Psychic types, you definitely don't want to throw a Charge Attack at these guys because you've got them, alright? Just chomp through, block once, it's fine, alright? But you have Power Up Punch to take on the Steel types who are gonna come in after, right, which is nice. And if you chomp through these guys, I don't know how many Power Up Punches you're gonna be able to throw. Maybe 2, maybe 3? That's gonna be really nice, right? Pop, 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 nice, right? Okay. And if it's a fighting type, and let's say they don't have any shields, you got that Play Rough. So you know what's up, what's good, okay? Mawile looking really, really nice. Now this is pretty self-explanatory, right? We don't have to talk about every single matchup here. You now understand, right? But I want you to look at Steelix, alright? Steelix right there. As you can see, he's got 3 matchups, right? Bronzong, Cresselia, and Gardevoir, right? Charm Gardevoir. Nice. Cool. But I want you to know that if you have a Steelix with really good IVs, you can beat Lugia, right? And if you have really good IVs, plus if Claydol isn't running Earthquake, you can beat it. Okay, so Steelix, not looking like a poopier Probopass now, right? Not looking like a poopier Steel type, because it can be just as good as Mawile, right? At beating the Psychic types, but it's IV dependent, right? Plus with Claydol, it's moveset dependent, plus IV dependent. So yeah, but it can be just as good. And the thing is, I don't think that most people are gonna be running Earthquake on Claydol. So yeah, that's a thing, alright? Now back to Mawile. Mawile can do the same thing to the Ghost types, right? Most of them, alright? Just chomp through them, throw charge attacks at whatever is coming up next, which is, you know, fantastic. Mawile looking really good. Now, with a Lowland Marowak, that is a very, very rough fight, alright? You lose, for sure. Straight Bone Club. Plus, you cannot get a shield out of him because a Lowland Marowak doesn't need to block. You're not gonna get to a Play Rough, right? You're not gonna get to a Play Rough to force a shield, okay? The most that you're gonna get to is a Power Up Punch, and that's just, he doesn't need to block that, right? So yeah, that's gonna suck. Now let's talk about Mawile versus the Steels, right? So Bastiodon, no, alright, you lose that. But what about the RPS triangle thing down here? It's close, okay? Is there merit to having an attack weighted Mawile, right? That's a question that I wanted to answer for you, and the results are weird, right? With Mawile versus Empoleon, you actually lose harder. You lose much harder if you have an attack weighted Mawile, okay? With Steelix, it's almost exactly the same. Almost exactly the same, guys, alright? So, no merit there. With Probopass, though, yes, it makes it much easier for you to kill Probopass, but you come out with 2 HP, so that's still iffy. And yeah, do I think you should run an attack weighted Mawile? My advice, just run your Mawile, right? PvP IVs, normal PvP IVs, and just hope and pray that your opponent does not have good IVs, okay? So, alright, now we are at the fighters, the fighting types, alright? They're fantastic side grades of each other, they do different things, and yeah, but the most important thing that they do is they beat down the steel. Now, we're not gonna talk about the fighters one by one because I feel like it's much better to just compare them because there's just 2 of them, right? So yeah, let's talk about it. With Medicham, you want Psychic. You want the Psychic because that makes him clearly the king of the fighters, right? If you have a power-up punch, Ice Punch Medicham, it's gonna be kind of difficult for you to, like, really beat a Poliwrath, right? Because power-up punch got nerfed. It got nerfed. But with Psychic, if you go Psychic, you beat Poliwrath. So yes. Now, Medicham is not just the king of the fighters. He's also much better at beating down the steals compared to Poliwrath because Poliwrath already has one matchup that he loses, right? Probopass, right? And not just that, but Medicham has a fighting type, fast attack, counter. And the thing is, for some of the steel types, they're part rock, like Bastiodon, like Probopass, and that makes them double weak to fighting, and that means that they are completely farmable. Now, Poliwrath is much better versus the ghosts. And the thing is, if you're gonna run Bubble Poliwrath, make sure that your IVs are fantastic. Right? Yes. And your phone internet is quite good. Okay? Because I'm talking single digits here, alright? Single digits against the ghost. Okay? You wanna go straight Ice Punch. The thing is, they're not gonna block that first charge attack, right? They're not gonna block whatever it is. They're just, you know, but with straight Ice Punch, you can make sure that these matchups are wins or ties, okay? Wins or at least ties, like with, I think with Hex Dusclops, it's a tie, right? Yeah. So you definitely want to go just straight Ice Punch, but the thing is, if you run the Sims, you're gonna come out with like 4 HP, 2 HP, okay, 6 HP, it's not looking great. Make sure that your IVs are on point. Now, against the Psychic types, they both lose to the Psychic types, yes, so it's kind of like a tie, but there's still some advantages, disadvantages, right? Poliwrath can do more damage, okay, because he's got a neutral bubble, plus he's got Ice Punch, which some of the Psychic types are weak to ice, like Claydol, like Lugia, alright? But he's actually farmable. He is farmable for most of the Confusion users. Plus, you know, Charm Garde, but Charm Garde has both of them, right? So yes, they only have to block once and they can just farm out Poliwrath. Medicham is not farmable. So that's basically it for the fighters. Pretty easy to understand. But what about the cross choppers? Alright? Legacy cross choppers. Now here's the thing, right? They're in between, but they're not as good as both, right? They're not as good as Medicham versus you know, the other fighters, so that he still has that over these guys, and they're not as good as Poliwrath in beating the ghosts, okay? So, and since they're legacy, your IVs are gonna be trash. So it's just they're in between, okay? But you can kind of like try it out. At least they don't have the same weakness as Poliwrath has the Probopass, right? You can kind of like run these guys if you're scared of Probopass, but you still want some fight back against the ghosts. And finally, we're at the Psychics, and the Psychics look kinda complicated, but honestly, it's pretty simple. They kill the fighters, alright? They kill the fighters, they have some interactions with the steel types. We already talked about it, made it super easy for you using that chart, right? Steel versus Psychic chart. There is very, very little to talk about. It's so simple. You hit things with Confusion, right? They die. You hit things with friggin' Charm, they die. Okay, there's not a lot to talk about with this group. Let's talk about Cresselia though. Very important is that Cresselia, I recommend that you run Psycho Cut over Confusion because that lets you beat Charm Gardevoir, right? This actually got me confused the other day when I was battling like a friend of mine, and she beat me with her Cresselia when I was using Gardevoir. But I was like, in the Sims, that doesn't happen. It's because she was running Psycho Cut. She was able to throw another charge attack and kill my Gardevoir, right? Plus you want Aurora Beam because you can hit things. You're not gonna be able to beat them, right? But you're gonna be able to hit things that are weak to ice, right? Like Drifblim, like Claydol, like Lugia, okay? And then Moonblast versus Future Sight. My suggestion is you go Future Sight because Future Sight is at least stab, right? They do the same thing. They kill fighters and yeah, but at least Future Sight is stabbed, right? One last thing before we go to the alternative psychic types, because I feel like there's more to talk about with the alternative psychics, like rather than these guys, all right? But yeah, Claydol, you want to be running Earth Power, Earthquake. Okay, why not Gyro Ball? Why not friggin' Psychic? Psychic got buffed. You know, you can hit things with it. The thing is, with Earthquake, you can kill Steelix, okay? I feel like most Steelix users are going to block your charge attack if you throw, like, first, right? So, well, your first charge attack. Even if it's an Earth Power, because it's so difficult to differentiate if it's an Earth Power or an Earthquake, right? Those are pretty close, like, confusion-wise, right? You don't need the Psychic to beat the fighters because you can do that anyway, okay? Right? But that Earthquake gives you a chance to beat Steelix, okay? So if you get that Shield Bait with the Earth Power, throw the Earthquake, you can kill it, alright? If you don't, if it has good IVs, and you throw double Earth Power, you lose. Gyro Ball, what's Gyro Ball for? I have no idea what Gyro Ball is for. With Claydol versus Cresselia, if you're running Earthquake, Earth Power, make sure in the simulations, right, to take out the Earthquake, right? Because if you go straight Earth Power, you win with single digit HP, but you win. With Earthquake, for some reason, you tie, okay? So why would you, I mean, just go straight Earth Power, plus you can proc the debuff. If you proc the debuff, fantastic. Alternatives, Lugia. I finally got a Lugia for the Great League. It was hard, right? But yes, now try to aim for like a nice IV Lugia, right? It's hard. It's really hard. 97, nice. 98, fantastic. 99 and above, how the hell did you do that? I have no idea. You are lucky, alright? But yes, this thing does the job, right? Extra sensory over Dragon Tail, okay? Because you want to kill the fighters much faster. It's super effective, plus it's stab, right? And after you kill the fighters, because of Lugia's fantastic typing, right? Flying, Psychic, you come out with so much HP. You come out with like a chunk of HP, right? The charge attacks, super nice. Sky Attack, Hydro Pump, that is fantastic coverage for the cup, okay? So you beat the fighters, you come out looking not too beat up. You still got a chunk of HP, right? And then you throw, you burn that shield, you friggin', or like you maim them, okay? So yes, that one worth a lot of shields, okay? You can actually like burn the shield on the Pokemon that you're trying to beat, like the fighters. Sometimes you don't even have to shield. Let's say it's a Medicham with no Ice Punch. Bruh, okay? So, and then you can get more shields after by just throwing and throwing. It's nice. I really like Lugia. It's starting to feel a little bit like a Skarmory, a little bit, okay? And it's got some matchups with IV. So if you have like a decent IV one, Steelix, you can take it, okay? Or like if you're facing like a not so good Steelix, fantastic, alright? Others IV dependent ones is I think Bronzong and Gardevoir, right? If I can remember like off the top of my head, but it's pretty close, alright? Claydol, you've got that. Hands down, you've got that. Cresselia, you've got that. Straight Sky Attack. So it's got some fantastic coverage. Last one, guys. Alternative. A Lowland Raichu. Now, he's a nice side grade, okay? You definitely maybe think about him for your team, but he's not as solid as the other psychic types for beating the fighters, which is not nice because that's what they're supposed to do, right? But with Medicham, it's a little bit difficult. It's like a shootout, right? Who gets the bait? Who gets the... You know what I'm talking about? It's a toxic situation. I don't like putting you guys in like toxic situations. I like finding like the most efficient or like surefire way to get this thing down or type of thing. So yes, but the coverage is nice, right? Drifblim, anything that flies, right? Anything that Lugia, okay? Anything that flies. Now, for the steel types, we didn't include him in the steel versus psychic because I don't think that he's gonna be that meta, maybe, but just know that he can beat Empoleon. That's quite obvious, right? And Probopass, because Probopass is using Spark, okay? Because, yeah, you need that for Poliwrath, right? Yeah, honestly, a nice side grade. Okay, so that's it for the Meta Simplified Guide. I'm actually gonna add this one right here, okay? Yeah, but just know that it's iffy right now, okay? It's just it doesn't work the way that it should, okay? But just know, okay? So if there's an X, that's a sure kill. If there's no X, that's not a sure kill. It's playable, all right? But yes, you can take a picture now. Nice. Cool. Did you get it? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Remember to leave a like, comment down below your current Sinister Cup team, okay? And you can, give some people some positive feedback. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Ding that notification bell. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.